You mentioned the receivers. DJ Moore yesterday spoke about the great receiving core that the Chicago Bears have put together. Here he is.
Keenan a vet, like vet. Like, shoot. We went from, I don't know who was here, to, you got Keenan, Rome, you got Bayless, you got Tyler, and you got endless playmakers in there. Like I said, it's probably going to be a race to 1,000. I don't know who's going to get there first, but it's going to be interesting. I turn everything into a competition with everybody, and I think everybody feeds off of that. Even in the room, we all trying to be the fastest. They all talk about who's the fastest. I'm 27. Them other kids, look at me. I'm calling them kids. They freaking my teammates. They like 23 and 24 under. I'm like, listen, I'm done with the talk about who the fastest. Y'all got that, but low key, I'm the fastest in the room. So,
are you the favorite to get to 1,000?
I don't know. There's no betting going on. You can't do that.
Well done from DJ Moore. Well done. Yes, well, you can do it, just don't talk about it. It's just like Fight Club. Just don't talk about it. They learned that the hard way between Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels a couple weeks ago, and they canceled the bet. Sure, Jan.
We think.
Canceled the bet. Yeah. Just don't talk about it. That's the big takeaway. It happens all the time. They bet about everything. Just don't talk about it, and the league won't give you a hard time. They don't have folks walking around the facility with a big magnifying glass and, Inspector Gadget hat on looking for anything they can find. No, you're fine. And it's great how DJ Moore handled it. But, before the draft, I think Sims and I at some point kicked around the idea of the Bears taking Rome Odunze at number 9, and the reaction from some was like, well, they have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Yeah, but Keenan Allen's under contract for 1 year, and he's been around for a long time. You need to be thinking about the future. For this year, to have the planets line up with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, it really is going to be something the Bears, in my lifetime and yours, since we're almost the same age, have never had. I mean, think about it. And it's not shtick to say they haven't had a franchise quarterback since Sid Luckman. The Bears have never been an offensive juggernaut, ever. They had Walter Payton, but it's not like they ever capitalized on having Walter Payton and 11 guys on defense obsessed with Walter Payton and parlayed that into a good passing game. Think about that. The failure of the Bears to have a competent passing game in the Walter Payton years when everyone is trying to stop Walter Payton. Their attitude was just like, just keep giving it to Walter. They can't stop him. Let's not use Walter as a decoy, play action passes, and get the ball 50 yards down the field. Forget about that. Let's just give it to Walter. They've never had a great offense. Ever. And they've got the pieces in place to have one as soon as this year.
Yeah, and I think that's exciting for Bears fans with the offense they have, the parts that they have on this team, and adding DeAndre Swift at running back, I think helps to go with Khalil Herbert. So this could be a really potent offense, and Caleb Williams is going to have weapons to work with, and it could be an exciting year in Chicago for Bears fans, because when you start ranking, Mike, trios of receivers, they're right there. The Texans have 3 good receivers, but you start ranking those receivers. I mean, 4,000-yard seasons for DJ Moore, 6,000-yard seasons for Keenan Allen. Rome Odunze had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at the University of Washington. So you get those 3 receivers in there. That's unbelievable to have 3 receivers like that. I don't know that anybody has 3 better receivers than that. People can argue. Texans will probably argue. Other teams probably argue. But I don't know that there's another team that can say they have 3 receivers like those 3 guys.
Time will still tell the full impact of the trade that the Bears made last year with the Carolina Panthers. We've bandied about whether or not the Russell Wilson trade by the Broncos is up there with Herschel Walker, but years from now, not many, but at some point we'll be able to look back on the trade last year where the Panthers moved from 9-1 to get Bryce Young, and the Bears got DJ Moore and what became the first overall pick this year and other stuff, it might end up being one of the worst trades, best trades of all time. Worst for the Panthers, best for the Bears. When you consider what DJ Moore has done and will do, when you consider what Caleb Williams might do, if Caleb Williams becomes a top 5 franchise quarterback, if he fulfills his promise that made the Bears decide pretty quickly, Justin Fields, we love you, but it's time to declare this relationship over. We're getting our Sid Luckman. We've been waiting since 1950 for our next Sid Luckman. We think we have him. If he becomes that, it's up there in the pantheon of worst/best trades, because the flip side of every horrible trade is the other team involved got a pretty good deal.
Yeah, no question, Mike. And I think we're going to look at this trade. You're right. It won't be too long from now to see who won this trade. And if Caleb Williams is that guy, and now we're going to be comparing Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. And you think about the Bears last year, could have had their pick. They could have had CJ Stroud last year. So I think you also have to consider that. They were going to take a quarterback. They could have had CJ Stroud last year. Now they wouldn't have had all the extra picks, et cetera. We know what CJ Stroud is. We saw enough last year, I think, that no one's going to argue that CJ Stroud's going to be a bust in this league. He's not a bust in this league. We see that. We don't know about Bryce Young. We haven't seen enough. You give him more than a year, but he didn't show it last year. So what is Caleb Williams now going to be? And I think you compare those 3 quarterbacks, because they had their choice of quarterbacks last year and they chose to trade out of that, go with Justin Fields another year. And if Caleb Williams turns out to be who they think he is, then you're going to say that was one of the best trades that a team has ever made, to pass on CJ Stroud, to pass on Bryce Young, to trade out of that spot, go a year. Then you end up with 2 top 10 picks, and look who you came out of this draft with. It reset our franchise. We now have a franchise receiver. We now have a franchise quarterback, and we're on our way. But that remains to be seen. But we'll see how that plays out for the Bears. But they obviously think now that they have the best quarterback they've ever had, perhaps in franchise history. He's got a long way to go to prove that, but that's what they believe right now.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.